Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated, where today I'm joined by Dr. Ian Jenkins. So welcome, Ian.
Hello, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you. And you've got just an absolutely wonderful, interesting story. And I love that you've decided to write about it, because it's one of those stories that you might never hear about or realize is actually going on. But I think it's such a modern tale. It's loving and interesting, and just I can't wait to talk about it. But before we do, I thought we'd take a moment and let you introduce yourself. I know you're working in the hospital, so if you could tell us a little bit about that and how the last year has been for you.
Wow, yeah. I'm a hospital doctor at the University of California, San Diego, and a professor at the medical school there. And the last year of COVID has not been a lot of fun, but I have to say it hasn't been too bad on us in San Diego.
Yeah.
LA is currently falling apart. New York had a terrible, and places outside the United States like Northern Italy and less appreciated places like Mexico.
Yeah.
Real lots of suffering there. So my heart goes out to all the families that lost people and providers. I've got colleagues right now who had two parents on life support simultaneously from this pandemic. So it's been a tough year.
Yeah, it's terrible. And unfortunately, all of us have somebody, I think, that we know that has been, negatively affected. So that's difficult. So how's it stand now in San Diego? Is it on the upswing? Are things improving? Is the vaccines helping?
We had a good winter surge. And we had, like 100 plus people in the hospital. Like a third of the hospital medicine patients had COVID. So that's just like a whole population that didn't exist this time last year. Luckily, we have a fantastic medical system here. University of California, San Diego, very proud of them. We've been running the vaccine super center at our sports stadium downtown, and we've vaccinated over 100,000 people now. And we had the second biggest rollout in the state, actually. So we're looking to see a downtrend in things. We've already started to see improvement just because people got scared again. You hear the news, you hear the ventilators are full, and people start to follow the precautions once again.
Scary. Yeah, it's scary. And it's one of those that the last year has just been so difficult on all of us, and difficult for all of us to get on the same page, let's say, and move forward together. So I always like to hear when things are going well, because it's been a little difficult to move forward as quickly as we'd like. So things are going well here in West Virginia too. It's we're not getting the amount of vaccines that we need, but we're rolling them out very quickly. So a lot of people are getting vaccinated, and where we're a smaller state, that's definitely improved things. So crossing our fingers that by summer or fall, we're somewhat back to normal.
Back to normal would be nice.
So I can't wait to talk to you about your story. It's terrific, and I won't give it away. I'll let you do that. But tell us a little bit about what makes your family situation unique.
Sure. Well, it's a long story, but we'll just dive in. So I have a partner by the name of Alan. We're actually celebrating 18 years coming up.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. There's lots of same-sex couples out there, lots of same-sex parents as well. What makes us a little bit different is that about 8 years ago now, we started dating someone else, and that person is a member of our family and an equal partner with Alan and myself. That's my partner, Jerry. So we are in a polyamorous triad or throuple, we call it most of the time. To make matters even more interesting, we decided to go ahead and have a family. So with the help of an egg donor, 2 surrogates, an IVF doctor, and about 1,500 lawyers, we ended up with 2 beautiful kids. They're now 1 and 3 years old, and they're just a delight, super kids. One's learning to read, the other one's learning to talk.
Wow.
To death. And they are the first kids anywhere in the world that have a polyamorous family as their legal parents on their birth certificate.
Yeah, that's a lot. But so interesting. And let's start. I want to peel some of this back. So let's start here. So you're in a relationship, which isn't always easy in and of itself, and you make the decision to add somebody to that relationship. Talk to me a little bit about, what that was like, and why that was the right decision for you.
Yeah, well, this actually goes back all the way to my first partner. I dated my first boyfriend for 6 years, and at the end of that, he just felt like he needed to date other people.
Yeah.
He had never dated anyone before me, and I feel like, that was kind of understandable. I wasn't mad or upset about hearing that. And we didn't really know or even really talk about the possibility that just because somebody wants to date or has attractions to somebody else or falls in love with somebody else, that doesn't mean your relationship has to end.
Right.
That's what we're taught, right? But that's actually a very modern and very Western concept.
Sure.
That, you have to have one partner at a time, and it used to be only one partner for your whole life, which was, nobody really can sustain that. So that's very uncommon these days. But now the strategy is you need to be a serial monogamist, and you need to be faithful up until the point that you dump your partner. And I just find that kind of tragic. There's lots of relationships that are wonderful and beautiful, and I don't think that they all have to end if somebody has an interest in more than one person. I don't think we're monogamous animals. And you see all the infidelity and the cheating and the ending of relationships that goes on because we assume that you can only date one person at a time. So it's got to be a secret, or it's a relationship catastrophe. But truth is, it doesn't work that way everywhere in the world. It never worked that way in our past as humanity, and It doesn't work that way now.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting, because it used to be that everybody stayed at the same job their whole careers too, and we don't do that anymore. We've gotten away from that, and I find that really interesting with dating, because that if in most relationships, what ends the relationship is someone going outside the relationship, and that's immediately a no. There's no discussion on it. As soon as someone looks outside a little bit, that's usually the end of the relationship. And I do think that's a shame in a lot of cases, because there's never any attempt, I think, to really see, what's there, what can be worked out. And I find that really interesting that you and your partners have found a way to kind of coexist and support and love each other. And that's kind of inspirational, I think. So kudos for that.
Thanks. Lots of communication required.
Well, I'm sure, because along with all the good that would come in a kind of a triad relationship, there's going to be some difficulties there, because now you've got 3 individuals instead of 2. So there's going to be some complications, I'm sure.
There's definitely a lot more discussions that have to be held, and there's a lot more things to consider. So you're always sort of weighing a slightly more complicated life. But the thing I always tell people is, they say, like, well, you can't possibly love more than one person. And I say, like, don't you have 3 kids? Which one do you love, right? Like, you love more than one person. But and if you don't feel like it's for you, then obviously that don't go there. Monogamy is a completely perfect, great option. But one thing is there is a little bit more complicated, but it's more complicated in the way that having more than one kid is more complicated. It's not like a catastrophe or a totally different situation. And the other thing is that it brings about possibilities that people wouldn't have thought about. And so in our case, Alan and I had been together for a long time, never had kids. And it was only this magic combination of the 3 of us and our interests and our resources and our motivations and the home that we built as 3 people. That's how we ended up having kids. We would not have kids had we not formed this throuple. And the kids are fantastic. So I'm really glad that it happened.
Yeah, that's really great. So at what point in your relationship did you make that decision to have children, and how did that come about? Because obviously, just deciding to have children, it doesn't solve the issue. You still have to have some outside help to get there. So how did that work out?
I often joke that we've been trying for years, but nobody could get pregnant. And we had talked about it, and there is a huge amount of planning that goes into it if you need that outside help. So we're all men, and there's obviously no way we're going to get pregnant on our own. So that's a huge hurdle. And one thing that I think it's nice
Yeah.
for everyone to think about when we talk about that is that that means the kids were the most planned, wanted, and cherished,
Yeah.
intentional family that's out there. There are no oops babies in an all male family. So this was really a deliberate process. And we spent a lot of time talking about it, how we want to raise kids, what were our values.
Yeah.
We wanted a surrogate that was someone we kind of loved and trusted, not, a stranger to us. And
Sure.
we ended up finding a great friend to be both our egg donor and both our surrogates, so that those people are still involved in our kids' family, and they have those like aunt figures in the form of the surrogate, and a mother that doesn't live with us, but she, spends a lot of time with us. So recently 2 months, and it's just a joy to have her in the house. She's a wonderful mother to the kids, and they benefit from having, in a way, like 5 at least part-time parents, and that's actually a lot of love and support for those kids. So it made the whole process really easy for the parents, and
Yeah.
love for the kids.
Yeah. I love that. I love that that they're still involved. That's not easy to do with that many people involved. So that's terrific. And that has to be a benefit to the children having that much love around them. That's really great. And I'm assuming that you'll have to tell me, but I'm assuming, that the kids are still pretty young, but you're raising them to the point that this is just going to be normal for them. They're not going to think of this as anything unusual, let's say, which is the type of situation, just across the world that we're really trying hard to get to as a society. So I think that's a great way to do it. If kids learn, from their parents. So if they're raised a certain way, then this doesn't become unusual. It's just family.
It is just family. And, a lot of people might worry like, oh, the kids are going to be confused, but we just been honest with them from the beginning at a level that's appropriate to their understanding. And Piper, who's the older one, she's 3.5, understands it completely. She knows who's the biological parents. She knows that she was, was inside, we say, so the surrogate. And we, explained kind of pregnancy and how these people were involved and how much they loved us and her for this to be a possibility. So she's not confused. She's just got extra parents. I think it's interesting to think about, like, people like, well, that's really weird. You can't have 3 parents. It's going to screw up the kids. I have 3 parents. And people are like, well, how did that happen? So my biological parents got divorced, and I was raised by my dad and my stepmom for the first kind of half of my childhood, and then by my mom the second half. So I got 3 parents right there, and it didn't kill me or confuse me. We just have a situation now where all 3 parents love each other and live in the house. So it's kind of better than that. And even though people would never really worry about that situation that I grew up in, they think it might be a little weird that to have a polyamorous family, but it's easier with
I think that's a great point, because a lot of people get divorced, but stay close enough where you basically have 2 separate couples, jointly raising kids, and that's not that much different, other than the fact that you're all in one household, which has to be it has to be an improvement in my mind.
A little bit easier, just because I remember my parents always fighting about what the halfway point is between our houses. Who was going to have the kid on the exact moment of Christmas, which was, but you love each other. Like Tuesday and Wednesday are pretty similar. So
that's right. Doesn't make a difference. So, what was the reaction that you received? What kind of support did you receive from family, from friends? One, when you started the relationships, but more importantly, once you decided to have children.
Well, friends and colleagues are all either don't care or haven't told us, because we fit in pretty normally. We used to hold the work functions at our place before the pandemic happened, because we got a kind of a party house. It's got an open design, and it's really lovely to have people over. So we'd have dozens of people over from all our 3 different work environments, and nobody cares. Once you get in our house and meet us, we're pretty ordinary people, and same as every other house, is just 1 extra person. So the family stuff, you might sort of think, well, was there any pushback on that? But I got to tell you, nothing brings around a parent to the idea of their kid being in a gay relationship or a gay throuple than the offer of grandkids.
Yeah.
So, you know, grandkids, everybody wants grandkids from what
That's
I can
right.
tell, you know, so parents had always been talking to us like, when are you going to have kids? So we got them kids. And like I said, the throuple was instrumental to that. We wouldn't have had them had we not had that throuple. So
Yeah.
we didn't have much friction along the way anyway. I've had some friends in college that got disowned, thrown out, ended up homeless briefly.
Yeah.
That's pretty tough. Luckily, things had moved along, and our families were really good. Mine really didn't care much at all. They were like, well, there's one other person there. And we'd gotten past the whole minor issue of the gay thing back in the 90s. So
Right.
It was pretty easy. Like I said, they love having the kids. So, and it's great
Yeah.
having, you know, I actually was not lucky. I only met one of my grandparents just because the others had health issues before I could get to know them. My kid's got 7 grandparents now. So
You can't beat that.
I guess.
Well, so I'm a new grandparent. We had 3 grandbabies in the last year and a half. Thank you. And we got a 4th one on the way. And I got to tell you, that's the best. You can't beat being a grandparent because you get all the good, but not very much of the bad.
It's easier to visit a problem child than to raise one, or even just the diapers. But yeah,
That's it. You get to do. You get to spoil them, and you know you get them hyped up, and then you just send them home.
Well, I gotta tell you, you did the timing right, because I look like I'm older than you, and I've got a 1 and 3-year-old, so
I'm keeping that when I do the little clips from the show. That's the one I'm putting up.
The trick here is there's 2 factors. I mean, definitely we had to do a lot of planning and reach a stage in our lives where we felt it was the thing to do because we're all men. But the other thing is like doctor careers, you just put aside a lot of personal stuff for a long time. And I have a number of friends, female doctor friends, who kind of reach a point where they're like, oh my God, I got to have kids right away or it's too late, because you really do put your life on hold to do the training. So that's a lot. You see a lot of older doctors having kids rather than, you know, what I would consider the biologically optimal time or usual lifetime, most optimal time.
Yeah. That's a good point. And now you've got 3 people minimum to kind of share the load, so that, you know, nobody, I hope nobody is getting overwhelmed with the parental side of it, because that's a difficult side. You know, it's so rewarding, but it's also just exhausting, you know, raising children. So how do you split that up between the 3 of you?
Just massive cheating here, and everyone who's watching, if you thought about getting another partner, this might be the clincher. But I first want to say that I think that people that are raising kids in special circumstances, you have a special needs kid or you're a single mom or something like that, those people are heroes, especially the ones that have adopted, super people, and they're doing great work. We got ultra lucky. So I'll tell you, like when we had our newborn, number one, none of us were pregnant, right? So none of us are recovering from childbirth. None of us have to breastfeed, so anyone can feed the baby at 2 a.m. And so we had 3 parents to rotate, and our egg donor mom was with us, so that's a 4th parent. The person who's going to be overnight would just go to sleep early, get some hours in. Our egg donor mom, Megan, would put the kid down at 11. You'd wake up for a couple of feedings and diaper changes, hand the kid over at 6 when everyone else woke up. And 2 hours later after your nap, you'd be normal. So no one was ever tired having
That's
either.
amazing.
Yeah, it was super easy. I mean, 3 to 4 parents plus grandparents visiting. This was pre-pandemic, obviously, but it was just like really low stress. And I think that is a wonderful experience, because so many people have a really hard time. It's just brutal sleep deprivation, and they have work competing with their needs and everything. To be rested and happy at all times just let us delight in having these little babies and doing baby talk with them and enjoying them and being rested. It's fantastic. So I recommend get yourself another boyfriend.
Oh, I love that. So you made the decision to write about your story, and I've been spending some time reading through. You're nice enough to send me a PDF. I've been reading through that, and what it's really well written. What I loved about it is, you know, when you first kind of start reading it, you're like, ooh, this is kind of interesting. I'm going to check that out. But once you start reading it, you kind of forget about the uniqueness of the situation, and you're just drawn in by the people in it. So you have all these just wonderful, family members, and everybody in it is likable, and it's written in a way that it really makes you root and feel for all of you. And I love that. I especially the scene that really got me was when near the beginning of the book, when you're you're out to dinner or at the bar, and you're kind of talking about maybe having children. I mean, it was just such a normal conversation, that just kind of that two people would have, but there was three of you having it. I loved it.
I have a feeling that we might be able to publicize the book better if we were like Tiger King and everything was a hot mess. But
well, that's it. It's just what really makes it unique is that it's just normal. There's nothing really crazy going on. There's just three instead of two, or five, instead of two. But it's really just a very loving environment. It's a feel good type of book.
Yeah, there are two big reasons why I kind of wanted to put the story out there. I guess the third reason would be to embarrass myself by putting my limited term counts in a book that everyone could read. But the two real reasons were we wanted everyone to see that love makes a family. And there's lots of different families out there right now, lots of different backgrounds, lots of different political perspectives, and the nation's hurting and people are at odds with each other. And I think that it's nice to focus on what really matters. And that's taking care of each other, taking care of kids, doing the right thing. So that's really what the primary message of the book is. And then the second one is I wanted people to know if they've got like a chosen family where there's, an odd number or some sort of unique relationship or whatever reason, you wanted to seek legal protection for your kids, you can do that. Yeah. And there's lots of different ways. It varies state by state a lot, but I wanted everyone to know that because we would like to see this, the legal protections we got for our family be more widely available and publicized so that other people can benefit from them.
Yeah, that's really commendable. Talk a little bit about that, because you did have some challenges as far as making it legal. What did you have to deal with there, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so I mean, we didn't, just like the polyamory thing, I didn't know that when I was in my early 20s. We didn't know there was any chance that we could get three parents on a birth certificate. It turns out that three parents on a birth certificate is unusual, but it's got a lot of legal precedent. There's situations where like a woman in Alaska was dying and she was going to have a couple adopt her kids, but she didn't want to give up being a parent. Right. And so they made a three parent birth certificate for that unique family. And there's been other families where like two women had a kid through a friend that was a sperm donor, and the sperm donor, like our egg donor, is a real part of the family. And they said, you're actually a parent. You should be a legal parent. And so they got a third party birth certificate for that person too. But what had not been done before ever is a polyamorous family, and there was no legal precedent for that. The big difference is in California, you've got to show the kid is being harmed by not having that third parent on the birth certificate. Wow. And we couldn't appeal to that law because our kid didn't exist at the time that we needed the birth certificate. So we had to use a lot of other legal arguments. We had to go through more than a dozen attorneys just to get to the point that we could have the kids, because the IDF clinic, requires legal sign off on all the relationships. And then we had to convince the judge that she should grant us this legal precedent and let us be the first polyamorous family on a birth certificate. So yeah, it was a challenge for sure. I'm really glad we did it because there's concrete benefits. It's not just to say that, hey, we did it, it's official. It's all about protecting our family, actually.
Yeah. And that doesn't sound easy. Anytime you involve the courts, that doesn't sound easy. And I would have been the same way. I would have had no idea that's even possible. Although when you think about it, obviously there are circumstances where it needs to be possible. So that's really terrific. So has anyone reached out to you? Because there's not many cases like this. So you're kind of a trailblazer in this instance. Have you had anybody reach out to you for advice in a similar situation?
We have had a couple people contact me through Instagram, which is 3 dads and a baby separated by underscores. Well, I mean, to ask us, like, how did you do this? How can I pursue this for ourselves? And one of those families was from California. So we're like, yeah, you can actually do this.
Yeah.
And they also, their kid was already born. So they didn't even need the circumstances of our success. They just, could appeal to a California state law. So I referred them to that and told them how they could find a reproductive medicine attorney that would help them with it. And it makes a big difference. So some people, I had people ask me like, well, why do you need to do this? Couldn't you just have the kid? You just wanted to have the name to say that you did it or something. It was like, that's not it at all. So one thing is, like, we've traveled out of country, and if, I'm carrying a kid and it's just me and the other 2 are off doing something, or God forbid there was a medical issue or somebody got hurt.
Right.
They'd be like, you can't do anything with this kid. You can't authorize treatment. You can't take the kid back to America because you're not a parent. You're like kidnapping the child.
Yeah.
So I'm a legal parent, and we could all just say, like, here's our birth certificate. These are our ideas. This is our child. We got to do this now. So that's incredibly important to us. Another one is a lot of the benefits of working for the University of California. They give you a pension. It's not like a 401k. It's a pension. So if I get killed and I'm not married to my partners, the pension just disappears. It's gone.
Oh,
but
right.
I'm a legal parent. My kids can get that pension until they're 18. So that's a huge difference to my family.
It is.
Actually, I'm not looking to die, but if I get hit by lightning, I want my family protected. And that was something where we don't want to wait, to prove that our kids were harmed by not being a parent. Because if the harm is that I died and they don't get any of my retirement income, it's too late. Like, you can't do it then.
Yeah. It's such a great point. I'm not sure that I would be, I'll just say, intelligent enough to think all of that through. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, to think that for him, but you, as a parent, you have to think that way, because you want to make sure that your partners and the children are protected. So that's a lot to have. It sounds like most of the difficulties you had all came before the birth of Piper.
That's right. Yeah, we had to do when you have a surrogacy, you have to go to court and they grant parentage to the intended parents rather than the surrogate who's obviously giving birth. So that would normally be the presumptive mom. And normally that type of case takes like 5 minutes. The parents don't have to go, and they just say like, hey, you got another surrogacy case for you, and they run through the facts, and the judge says,
and done.
Look, I have jurisdiction. I award parentage to this couple. But we had to go in person, not a big deal. It's an interesting experience. And we had to fight. Our attorneys put up the case for our unique situation for like 45 minutes, going back and forth with the judge on state law and Supreme Court cases. And it wasn't going well. And then I have to give all props to my partner, Alan. I was sitting there defeated, like, well, we're going to lose. And he decided to just interrupt the judge and say, like, you need to swear us in, and you need to hear how important this is to us. And so she agreed. So the next thing you know, we're getting sworn in, and we all had to testify as to why this was important and, the circumstances of our family. And it was that testimony that hit the judge, and you could just see it. She's like, I can't, how am I going to pick one of these dads to be a legal nobody to their kid? She couldn't do it. So It was really my partners speaking up and us all testifying that convinced her she had to find an excuse in the law somewhere to let us do this. So that was a high drama moment. Yeah,
good for Alan.
Right.
Good job. Yeah, that really is. So you've are in the process. I guess you've written the book. It hasn't been released yet. Is that right?
Yeah, the book's been written, and it's a learning experience for me. It takes quite a while to write and edit a book, get an agent, get a publisher, get it out there. And it's delayed 6 months by COVID, but it's going to be on bookshelves on the 9th now, and available for resale now.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So how do I say it? So have you considered this becoming a movie or a TV show? Because that's what it seems. I mean, you've got the title. I mean, it should be something. I should be watching this on something.
Hey, I appreciate that. I'll tell you, we have been contacted by a number of people who wanted to do like a reality TV show or documentary on us. And the family decision is that we don't want to end up with weird kids. You you've seen so many stories in the news about someone who got famous and it ruined their childhood. And so we don't want to put especially our older kid, you know, who would kind of understand things more. We don't want to like weirdify her childhood in that way.
Right.
But yeah, if you can get, who would be good for us? You know, one of those Chris's that's all over the Marvel. Hemsworth probably for me, I think.
Well, sure. Yeah, I think that's it. You should be able to choose who plays you. I think that's
seems only fair.
That seems only fair. So we had there was a movie right in the 80s with it was three dads and a baby, right?
3 men and a baby because they were
3 men and a baby.
That's the play on words we went with for the title.
Yeah. So this is has to be better than that, and that was a good movie. This is. I mean, you've got all the material.
Fans out there.
Oh my goodness! You know, I met. I'm going off topic, but I met Steve Guttenberg at I did at a convention. Part of what we do with this show is we cover some of the conventions. We haven't been able to do it in the last year, but we met Steve. And we got to talk to him because I was taking a picture, and it's his assistant came running over and said no pictures. Can't take any pictures. And so I just kind of, jokingly yelled over at Stephen. I said, really, Mr. Gutenberg, we can't take a picture. And we ended up, it kind of broke the ice, and we ended up, he was just terrific. We ended up having a little conversation with him, getting our picture. So that was great.
If I get the chance, I'll be like, thank you for Short Circuit and for paving the way for my weird family.
Yeah. And I mean, there you go. Once you have, either one, movie or TV show, you almost have to have Steve Guttenberg in a cameo. You have to.
That's a fair point.
Maybe he could play like, the doctor's delivering the baby, something like that.
Exactly. Or, we would need parents.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. He could play a parent. Yeah, he'd be one of the grandparents. That's terrific. Yeah, we've got it mapped out. See, once this interview gets out there, hold up because the phone's going to be ringing. It's going to get snatched up.
Can't wait.
No, that's terrific. So it's coming out on February the 9th or March the 9th?
Oh, March 9th.
March 9th. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I forgot there was only 8.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, that's coming out fast. No, that's terrific and exciting. How has Piper handled having a younger brother?
She loves her younger brother. She doesn't fully understand that you can't pick an infant up by like his head yet. We're working on that. But I tell you one thing about having a boy and a girl is there are biological differences. Piper just like sets out her toys and makes like a little mattress to put the dolls in and like is counting stuff and is an organizer. And Parker like takes the tray table off his eat seat and throws it across the room. He's trying to chew his way out of his crib. There's definitely boy energy going on there. But Piper's girl energy includes wanting to raise and take care of her toys. And now she got a little brother to do that with. And it's really cute to see them hugging. Good night and kissing, and sometimes he just runs over and gives her a hug, and she likes to help feed him and do sorts of other cute stuff.
Yeah, you can't beat an older sister. She'll be very protective probably his whole life.
Here's the other thing about your chosen family. So we have an older sister on purpose. We talked to all of our friends, and they said girls grow up faster. They're going to be better supervisors and educators in that older sibling department. Have the girl first. And then they warned us, when you have a boy, don't worry, it's not stupid, it's just male. It's gonna feed, and it's gonna toilet train a lot later, but that's normal. And we're like, God.
Yeah. We know we're slow. It takes us a little while.
The Y chromosome is mostly gone. It's like we're missing like most of the human chromosomes. Give us a break, people.
That's right. Just be patient. We'll get there. Most of us. So you have been a writer for most of your life, right? You've kind of enjoyed the writing.
Well, not like Stephen King, but
right.
I started writing for fun when I was in the 5th grade,
yeah.
And this is my first published book. I've written several fantasy novels. I'm working on one now. and I have an idea for a medical memoir I'm going to start as soon as that's finished. And then along the way, there's been like 50-ish medical articles, but those would be very boring. You don't want to read those.
No, but that's good practice for when you're ready to write your actual novels. And I'm a big fantasy fan, so I'm looking forward to that. And you've got, if I remember right, you've got very strong female characters, which that's pretty interesting.
Well, yeah, the thing I'm working on right now, I wanted everyone to be able to see themselves in what they read. If you like Lord of the Rings or something, and you go to watch that, The Hobbit, for example, there are really no female characters in there except for Galadriel, I guess. So they had to create one for the movies, which was not a bad thing to do, I don't think. But I mean, there's just like almost no minority characters in there, underrepresented people at all. And so my main protagonist is biracial, bisexual, polyamorous.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So she spends most of her time in female form, but it's a fantasy novel, so not always, is all I can say about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So does it take place on like an alternate Earth, or is it just a totally different environment?
Totally made up environment. The other books I wrote, I did make a map, and I created an Elvish language with grammar and vocabulary and stuff for that, and a cursive script and everything. So
that's awesome.
Fun project. So
that's how Tolkien got started. He made a language and then kind of developed a series around it.
A lot easier to get into a project like that if you don't have two little kids.
Yeah, for sure. I hope you got a lot of that done beforehand.
Yeah. I did, but I got to tell you, the books don't love you back. And just like the hug of my little girl, or when they put their heads on your shoulders and carry them to bed, it's the best.
Oh, you can't beat it. You can't beat it. There's nothing better than receiving a hug from a child. It's just the absolute best, because they just love, they're just innocent and they just love you, and that's just you can't beat it. I have enjoyed being around the grandkids. It brings back a lot of memories from when my kids were younger. So it's
a great point. Those kids are born knowing how to love, and you got to teach them to dislike other family structures, sexual orientations, races, religions. They got to learn all that. But loving each other and being good to people, that's sort of innate, I think.
We what we've noticed with our grandkids, because they're about 6 months apart each, so they're at that young of an age. The oldest is coming up on 2 years here in a few months. That 6 months is a big difference. It's not going to matter so much down the road, but right now it's a big difference. But they kind of just know not to be rough with each other, because they're a little hyper. They'll be running around and banging into stuff and tossing stuff around. But then when they get up close to each other, they slow down. They're just very gentle, with each other. And to me, I'm very amazed by that, because that's just their nature. That's not something they learned. They just came out that way. And I thought that was just terrific.
Good kids.
Yeah. Can't beat it. So talk a little bit about the medical book that you're working on. What's that going to entail?
Yeah, so our original idea was to sort of talk about the training experience. I had some wild times training, like work 6 weeks without a day off, 120 hour weeks, 40-hour shift.
Wow.
And luckily things don't go that way anymore. Those kind of work hours are illegal now. But see these amazing moments when you get pulled into someone's life, and you are privy to the most amazing, sometimes tragic or personal moments that they have. And their stories are what would drive anything I wrote, just what people go through and how they survive it, how they take care of each other. It's amazing to me. One of the things that I saw, it was like the saddest thing I've ever come across, was this young father who was just got chicken pox and killed him over several days. Just brutal. Caused multi-organ failure. It was a horrible thing to watch and see. And he had left behind a young child, and his wife was pregnant at the time. And so it was just brutal for her to go from being, I'm 29 and I'm going to be a mother of two and my normal happy family, to single mom, husband just got killed. And you know, we had this connection there because we both saw this horrible thing, obviously far worse for her. But
Yeah.
we became friends. We're still in contact, even though that happened in 2004, I think. Trade holiday cards, and it's been
That's
amazing
great.
to hear her rebound, get remarried, have another kid, and just be a part of all that as a medical provider is just a fantastic experience too. So brutally sad, but just really moving. And it's great to see the kids process everything that happened and take care of their younger sister. So
yeah, that's an amazing story, and definitely worth getting that written down. Yeah, I love the angles. You're covering all of it. You've got the personal angle, you've got a kind of medical feel good type of stories, and you've got the fantasy covered. You've got all the bases covered.
I'm also working on a children's novel. I just wanted to hit it all, right?
Yeah, you got to cover it all. So is it like preschool children's, or is it a little older than that?
The book?
Yeah, the book.
Well, when I was really young, I wrote a book about how rabbits got their long ears. And it's basically that they play a game where they catch the ball in their ear and they throw it. So they start off with short ears and they stretch them. So my mom had that and loved it, and she misplaced it. So it's gone. But I decided as a gift to her that I would rewrite it, make it rhyme and better. And then I just need to find a way to maybe get it out into the world. But my story now is these two girl bunnies who want to play bunny ball, but the king bunny won't let them because it's a boy only sport. And so they break the gender boundaries and teach everyone to play better with their ears and change the world of bunny ball. That's your uplifting children's book for the day.
Yeah, I would read that tonight. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna name one of the baby bunnies Ruth because I wanted to pick pioneering women, so an homage to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, we just recently lost.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's another book that would make a great cartoon too. That should be like a I don't know. It should be one of those that we're watching on a holiday. You know, that should be coming out every year. Like, oh, watch those bunnies playing ball. No, that's terrific. Ian, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time today to tell your story. When Lori first contacted me, I was like, well, I have to talk to this gentleman because it's such an amazing kind of uplifting story. I found that really terrific. So thank you for sharing that today.
Thanks for having me. It's been a delight.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
Yeah, you have to come back.
Well, if you want opinions on medicine or something else, I'm happy to share them with you. My little skeleton in the closet is I was voted most argumentative in my high school the year I graduated. So I'm not short on opinions.
I was going to say that probably doesn't get you in trouble at all. No, you have to come back and let us know how the family's doing, you know, how the book launch went, you know, what the sequel is going to be like, all that stuff.
The sequel, yeah. Well, just really quickly, I'll tell you the sequel with Parker, our younger child, there was no fuss. We didn't have to do the lawyers over again. We didn't have to argue with the judge. I just said, yeah, you've already done this. Good job. Here's your birth certificate. So it was a non-issue. And that's what we want other unique families to be able to get someday.
That's always the way it works. The oldest gets all the tough stuff. And then the younger one comes through and everybody's they're comfortable. It's all worked out. All the kinks are worked out. That's all.
Here's your hand-me-down onesie and your hand-me-down legal precedent.
That's exactly right. So Ian, before you go, the book's coming out on March the 9th. You know, where can we find you on social media?
Really just the Instagram, 3 dads and a baby separated by underscores.
Yeah.
I tried Twitter, but it turned out that's just like a swamp of bad intentions. Yeah. So I was like, it's not for me. And I got to think in longer than 120 characters anyway. So Instagram, and the book is 3 dads and a baby as well. It should be available anywhere online.
Yeah, that's terrific. And casting is starting right now. Yeah. So anybody listening.
Nailed down, everybody else is up in the air.
That's exactly right. All right, Ian, well, hold on one second. All right, so that was Dr. Ian Jenkins, and just what a fascinating fun guy, and just really enjoyed speaking with him. I love everything that he's doing, and I know that he didn't intentionally do it necessarily to help other people in similar situations. It was really just because of their individual situation as a family. But I know that what they have accomplished, what they have done is having impacts out there in the world, positive impacts, and that's just terrific and commendable, and good for both of their children, Piper and Parker, that they have such a loving environment to grow up around, and that can only put positivity out into the world. So I'm just so thrilled to have gotten to speak to him for a few minutes today, and make sure that you keep an eye out for the book, Three Dads and a Baby, which he said was a play on the movie from back in, I think that was the 80s. So there we go. We made some progress casting it too. So Steve Gutenberg, if you're out there listening, we've got your next project. So thank you guys for listening, for tuning in week after week. We really appreciate that. We don't take it for granted. Really enjoy doing these, and I hope you're enjoying the interviews as well. Please check us out on Facebook under MeisterCon. You can find us on our website, meistercon.com. If you are interested in helping the program, we do have a Patreon page, patreon.com/MeisterCon. We'd appreciate that. Any little bit would help. We'll give you some early access and some bonus content for your trouble. So until next time, thank you and goodbye.